Hello and welcome to another story time with Paul video, I guess. Whatever. So, first off, I kind of want to apologize for the last video. I was really like in a weird mood, I would say. I was still going through all this conspiracy stuff, and there is a lot of really terrible things happening. But on the other hand, life is still going on. People are still happy about all kinds of stuff. There's like a certain quality to like the human spirit, I think, that is just unbreakable. Like no matter how shit everything is, like I don't know if throughout history there were wars and all kinds of really terrible things, but for some reason humanity has always found like new hope and happiness even in the darkest places, and that's exactly my feeling as well. So even if the world is like really messed up right now and everything is going topsy-turvy and whatever, I kind of feel like I still know that there is everything will be fine. It's just a weird, I think personally there's a weird like shift going on. Like we're going from one kind of dimension to the next, or like from one reality to the other. You could even with the virus stuff, do you really think that if tomorrow everything, the virus is cancelled pretty much, do you really think everything would go back just the way they were? I kind of don't really see that. So I don't know, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know what's happening. So yeah, if you're wondering what I'm currently doing, I'm still looking through this conspiracy stuff, and I'm still, following my intuition. And I do have more motivation and even ideas about what I would do with the game, with the story and all that stuff. But currently, I don't know, I'm still not at that place where I, want to jump back into, doing the same old thing. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm very, ever since Dimension Drifter, I'm really disappointed in everything that has happened in terms of like Steam and all this crap. And there's like some kind of, I feel like I'm at war with reality in some way. I don't know if this makes any sense, but if you want to see it that way, I'm kind of butting heads with the cosmos, if you want to call it that. I'm like, I don't know what this world wants from me. I'm doing everything that I can. I'm trying to be as productive and creative and whatever, and I'm getting shit. So you know what? You can go fuck yourself with this bullshit. I'm not, I don't want to play this game anymore. This is pretty much my stance on what's going on. And I know people are saying like, hey, just get a real job, lol. But to that, I just say I had real jobs, okay? I was never happy. I was never happier than when I was just on my own. I could do my own thing. And maybe I wasn't most efficient. Maybe I haven't learned as much about business or whatever that I should have. But I'm just at a point where I'm saying like, this is just not acceptable. So if I put in the work, I should get something in return. It's just a natural like exchange of things. It's like I give something to the cosmos and I get something back. And if that doesn't happen, I'm like, well, yeah, then tell me what else I should do, or go fuck yourself. That's pretty much my stance. So I'm still following my gut feeling, and this is something that I'm still advising everyone else to follow as well, as much as you feel like. Funny story about that. This is also how I met my ex-girlfriend. It's I think like one of the best ways I've ever got a girlfriend, whatever. So it was like okay, so I was dancing at this dancing like class, and there was one girl, and I really she was like average in pretty much every single way you could think of. But in my opinion, average girls are pretty much like the most interesting because you never, it's you get more than you expect. And I had this dancing partner, and but I never thought about her in any serious way, because again, she was like average in every single way, and she never made any kind of advancements towards me or whatever. So I just was grateful that I had her as my dancing partner, and that was it. And one day there was this other guy who was like, I'm a nerd, but to me he was like the total nerd. So I thought in my extremely smart brain, I was like, hey, wait a minute, maybe I can, what's the English term for that, but maybe I can like get them together, because maybe they fit. She's like kind of like a nerd a little bit, and he's like a nerd, and maybe I can turn them into a couple or something, whatever. And I asked her and him, I asked him first, I think, if we wanted like hang out after the dancing class, and then I asked her, and then for my own little like fun, I guess, I was asking her like, hey, maybe you have another girl, a female friend that you could ask to come along, and you can all hang out. And I was like, hopefully that is a pretty girl that is like for me. Anyway, so we went all to that thing, and immediately when I saw that girl, she was like the total like no-go for me. She was like completely not my type, and not, I was like, no. So in my head, I pretty much just closed that thought off, like, okay, this is not gonna work, but maybe I can have like a little fun, and have maybe these two end up together or whatever, whatever. But it's not, this evening is not about me. That was pretty much my mindset. So I was having fun and talking shit all the whole time. I was really, really in like this kind of jester kind of mood. I was like, whatever, I'm just talking a little bit of shit. So the evening went well, but these two that I tried to bring together, they really didn't mix. Like, he was very shy and she was really shy, and they both didn't have any chemistry whatsoever. And I had the most chemistry with everyone. That's just my, that's just how I am. I've never ever had any problems connecting with people in general. I'm just, I don't know. You look at me and you're like, oh God, what is this fucked up nerd when he's talking weird shit? But trust me, I've never ever had any problems, even with people that don't like me. They're like, ew, what kind of shit are you? And I've never had any problems making fun of myself or something, to get on their level, get that kind of connection. But I've never ever had any problems with anyone, at least in real life. I don't know how I've come across it, like in these videos, whatever. But in real life, I've never had fear of being like, oh no. For example, I've had many like these first dates, where all kinds of people are always afraid of, like, oh, I don't know what to say, or I've never had this feeling. I've never even had the thought of, like, I don't know what to say. I always know what to say. I say all kind of shit. I mean, listen to me right now. I have no idea how I came to this topic, but here I am. So yeah. So I was like sitting at this table with these three other people, and we were all having fun. It was a good evening, but I couldn't get these two together. But whatever, it wasn't something that bummed me out. So, and this is where it gets kind of crazy. I go outside and he was driving, and I was sitting on the back seat with her, with my dancing partner, and I had this weird thought in my brain, and I couldn't get it out. And this thought was just the only thing in my brain was, I'm going to say that I will drive, because that other guy was driving everyone to their homes. He was like, already he said, I'm driving everyone home, just tell me where you live, pretty much. So. And I had this thought in my brain. I was like, I'm just telling him I'll go to her place, as if that's just a normal thing, as if this is just, I think, yeah, I think that happens. I don't know how to say this, but this was my only train of thought. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna tell them I'm going to her place, with her best friend in the car. It's like it's so ridiculous. It's so outlandishly ridiculous that all I was thinking was, I want to see her reaction. I want to see her face. So we're all in the car, and he's like, okay, I think I'm gonna drive Paul home first because he lives, more out there, in a different direction. And then this train of thought just jumped into reality pretty much, and I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm following her. We're going to her place. We want to watch Dirty Dancing. That's all I said. I was like, we wanted to watch Dirty Dancing, and she immediately, without a second hesitation, she's like, yep, that's right. And I was like, what the fuck? And he and her best friend and everyone was like giving each other looks like, did we miss anything? And it was just such a crazy situation. And I was just internally, I was just laughing my ass off. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I just said it. And it worked. It was so ridiculous. And it was just amazing. And I remember clear as day, we both just exited the car like, yeah, thanks, blah, blah, whatever, bye-bye. And her best friend lives just, a few, houses over, And she was like, to her, like, is everything okay? Like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, everything's cool. Yeah, all right. And she's like, okay. And she left, and me and her, we went to her place, and I remember right before she opened the door, I was like, do you really think we're watching a movie now? And she's like, I don't even have Dirty Dancing. And that was just the icing on the cake for that evening, and obviously when we entered her place, you pretty much know where it led. Anyway, this was just like the most amazing thing that happened to me in that regard, And I don't know, this just comes to my mind whenever I think about your gut feeling, It's like you never know where it leads, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, and you can't even imagine how this could turn out. Sometimes if you just go through with it just for the heck of it, again, I didn't have any kind of goal in mind. I wasn't following, anything, and I had no idea where it led, but I just followed through with it. And this is pretty much like my advice, like for anyone. And even right now, I don't know where this leads. I'm just following my gut feeling. I'm currently not heading in any kind of direction that makes any sense whatsoever. And I'm pretty much, for this year, I'm pretty much safe, I think, in terms of financially. I don't know about December. I'm pretty sure I can't pay any rent for December at all. So I have no idea what happens up until that point. But as you can see, again, I just wanted to mention this. I'm always 100% honest with all of you. I'm always transparent. I have nothing to hide. I don't care to hide anything from anyone. I just consider myself a normal dude. So, how bad could it be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have any kind of sinister plans to take over the world or any kind of garbage. So I have nothing to hide. So, I don't know. I feel like the world would be a much better place in general if everyone would just be transparent and open and talk about things. I mean, everyone does shit in their lives, and everyone has like bad days and good days and whatever. And why would we have to hide any of that stuff? I don't know. To me, it just, I don't know. It feels superstitious. Is that the right word? Like artificial. Like, as soon as you start hiding things and scheming and I have to lie. I also never lie, by the way. This is something also connected to the 2012 thing that I didn't mention. Um, so yeah, in 2012, as I've said in the last video, I was heavily into a lot of like conspiracy stuff, but also I've read on all these conspiracy sites, you know, not conspiracy in that way, but like these alternative things, like these spiritual, like oh, there's like this higher race of aliens and they're like guardians or whatever. And some of these people said that if you lie, you create, or like, how could I say this? Like, you attract negativity, something like that. So if you are honest and truthful, you will attract like positivity into your life. And if you lie and cheat and be an asshole, you attract negativity to your life. And for some weird ass reason, I have no idea why, from one day to the next, I decided all of a sudden that I will never ever tell a single lie again. And to my personal knowledge, I've actually followed through. I've never ever told a single lie, at least intentionally, and at least not with a bad intention. So what I mean is that maybe at some point I said something that I wasn't 100% sure about. But at that moment I said it like as if I knew what I was talking about, and later on I found out that it wasn't true, or I misremembered something or something like that. But at least to my, you know, to my best, you know, perception of myself, I have actually followed through, and I've never ever told a single lie after that point. But and again, I personally feel that I have been, I've grown into a much my personality is like much more solid. It's like it makes much more sense. And also I've noticed that you start to recognize other people how they really are, because to me, maybe this is like also some kind of karma thing, but if you lie to others and if you cheat others, you also lie to yourself and you cheat yourself out of certain things, like subconsciously or something. I don't really, again, you know, this is like some kind of like higher power thing, or cosmic balance or karma, whatever you want to call it. But I have actually noticed that this is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but this is really happening. And this is also something I can say about this. Like when I stopped lying, you make your life much easier, because whatever the situation, you never ever have to start forging your own reality in your mind. You know what I mean? Like, you just go with what's happening or what the situation is, and you just say how it is, and you're not concerned with any kind of creation of reality in that sense. When you lie, you basically create your own path in this reality. And I've heard this from some very intelligent people, that no one will ever get away with anything of that nature. Like, at some point it will be revealed, either through yourself because you slip up, or your subconscious nags you, like you have this, like you have guilt or something like nagging you all the time, and it's making you angry, it's driving you crazy, and at some point you have to reveal it. There's like some kind of weird natural law, something like, again, like some kind of karma or balance that I think goes through the entire world or like entire existence. It's like some kind of law of nature, some kind. I couldn't tell you how or why or whatever. Maybe it has to do with the fact that as soon as you lie, you start your own tiny pathway of reality, like a bent version of reality that you try to twist into the fabric of this reality, and because of the thing that you're weaving is so like fragile, or like so like tiny in comparison to the entire whole world itself, at some point it will just break apart. something like that. I have no idea how to explain it in any other way, but this is my feeling. And again, about this lying thing, one more thing I can tell about that. The hardest thing that took me many years is to stop lying to yourself. That is the hardest part. Trust me. Even though after stopping lying to anyone, I was still catching myself with the lies I was telling myself in my head all the time. And, maybe, I don't know, for whatever reasons, whatever. It's just vast amounts of reasons. But yeah, this I can tell you. This is the hardest part, to stop lying to yourself. And to me, ever since, whatever. You know what I mean. What I've noticed is ever since, I've started seeing other people much clearer, because maybe this has to do with like this whole lying thing, that your brain is like in this weird mindset of like, I was like one of the best liars ever. I could lie to anyone. I had lying like mastered. I had a whole formula about this. I knew exactly how to lie, how much detail to add to each lie, where to place a lie. I knew everything about this, so I was really good at it. And at some point I realized that your mind isn't like in this weird lying sort of state or whatever. And once I stopped that, and I even stopped lying to myself, at that point, which isn't all too long ago, like maybe 2 years, I actually started realizing or seeing people the way they really are. And I don't know how this works, but for whatever reason, I could see through their lies, and I could even see through entire phrases, entire paragraphs of what they were saying, and I was actually hearing what they were really saying right now. Like something like, I am important, or like, I am better than you. Some underlying thing that they were really trying to get across at that point. And that was really eye-opening for me. And I even had like I contacted one of my ex-girlfriends from many years ago, because there was something between us that wasn't really resolved. And I had this inner feeling of like, I want to get this figured out. Like, I just contact her and see where it goes and see who she really is. And in that conversation, and it took me maybe 2 weeks or something, and we had email contact every day, and she even asked if we wanted to see each other again, and I was like, no, it's okay, I just wanted to talk a little bit, like some kind of like, what is it called, like if you have a male friend or whatever, whatever. And yeah, it actually took me 2 weeks, but then finally it was a moment of like peace and quiet, I guess. And I decided to read all of her mails again, because I had this feeling that I was kind of like missing something. So I actually went over all of her emails again, and when I was putting all that stuff together, I was finally realizing that I was actually living like Alice in Wonderland. I finally figured it out, and I saw reality not as it is, but how I wanted it to see. The same was with her. I saw her not actually who she was, but who I wanted her to be. And to realize that was one of the biggest eye-opening moments in my life. Yeah, that was my moment where I was like realizing that as soon as you stop focusing on yourself and focusing on what kind of narrative you want to get across so that you get the benefit that you want, because ultimately you don't know what you want. You don't know what actually benefits you, if that makes sense. So for example, you think you want something very, very bad, and this thing, whatever it is, as soon as you have it, certain great things will, be in your life or whatever. But maybe you've experienced this as well. Sometimes, or maybe even most of the times, when you get whatever it is, you're like kind of like, well, that was nice or whatever, but was it really what I wanted? And then you end up like disregarding it or whatever, and you're like, eh. Or what also sometimes happens in life, while you're pursuing this one thing, whatever it is, at a certain crossroads of that path, you see something else that is much more interesting, and you're like, you ditch your first pursuit and you follow that instead, and all of a sudden you realize that this is what makes you much happier, and you're like, holy shit. So I don't know, I've come to the conclusion like many years ago that it's not about making plans all the time and following these plans to wherever they lead you, but instead you just experience life and you take it as to the best of your ability at all times, and you just see where it leads. And again, my life is currently probably leading to some place that is really not that enjoyable for me, but I actually I have no fear against towards it. I have no feelings whether that way or that way. It's just my life path, and I'm just gonna follow it because it's my intuition and it's leading me to a certain point, and I'm just gonna follow through with it. And there is less and less to worry about every day. That is of my It's kind of funny that we're always so worried about everything, but as soon as we start to understand that all we have to do is just let go and experience life as it comes, and we're always afraid of like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen, but just trust in yourself that you are prepared for all kinds of situations. Like, it doesn't really matter to be prepared for everything because it's already in you. It's like so for example, many times you think about a certain situation because you're afraid of it. You're like, oh god, I don't know how to react, or I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do. But what I've realized is that many times, as soon as a certain situation happens, and even if you were afraid of it and it still happens, in that moment, for some whatever reason, your brain just clicks. It just clicks together, and you just know what to do, or you just do something even without knowing, and all of a sudden it just turns out to be okay. It's not like you're like, oh my god, I was so afraid, or I thought this would be much worse, or whatever, and all of a sudden life just happens, and you're like, I don't know how or why or whatever, but somehow it just it's not that bad. And sometimes it's even awesome. You're like, holy shit, I never thought it would be that cool. And yeah, it's the same with making games. Sometimes I have no idea what to do or what to make or how the story should progress or whatever, and I just do something, and all of a sudden I have just this amazing idea for a dialogue or how the story could progress or something, and it just in that instant it just comes to me, for whatever reason. It's like what David Lynch says. David Lynch says that there's like this veil or like a curtain that is going through our life, and on the other side is like, I don't know what, like this amazing world or whatever, like beings or something, like this other dimension. I don't even know how he says it, but there's like this other dimension that we cannot see or feel or touch, but it's there, and it's kind of like it's a part of our life, but we can't realize it. And from that place, ideas and dreams and fantasies and stuff like that is getting handed to us, like a hand reaching out, giving us something like an idea or whatever. And David Lynch says that it's in our responsibility to take this idea that we got and like treasure it and try to bring it into this world as best as we can, like to the best of our abilities. And I think in addition to that, you can attract certain things. Like if you behave in a certain way, if you're like mean and mean-spirited and you always see the bad side of things and you're always like, ugh, this is never gonna work, and you attract certain ideas or fantasies or like this other dimension, like certain things get passed to you because you are already attracting that. And if you change your mind and if you start thinking in a different way, you start attracting other things and more positive things come into your life. And it maybe this is exactly what people do when they like, I don't know, do like occult stuff and whatever rituals and whatever. They attract this negativity and this, they feel like this gives them powers or whatever. Maybe it's even true. Maybe you can get powers through certain actions, through this weird dimension that may or may not exist. I don't know. But if that evil exists, then the good side also has to exist. It's just a law of nature that, again, there's always this balance and this karma and stuff, because otherwise everything would be just a nightmare, constant nightmare, which it isn't. It's, I don't know, life is what you make of it. So if you again, even if your situation is bad, you can always make a good thing out of it and have a good thought and take it as a challenge and be like, life is ass, but I'm gonna take this challenge, and try to make the best of it. Like whatever comes of it. Maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time to change your life in a drastic way. And maybe you have always had this certain idea, this certain like thing that you wanted to pursue or whatever, and maybe that's the time. Like if you're hitting a roadblock and no matter what you try, nothing works, maybe it's time to move on and do something completely different. I don't know. This is exactly my own train of thought as well with my situation. Like I'm hitting a roadblock constantly, like Steam is being ass. So I'm like, whatever, maybe I have to do something completely different. Maybe being homeless is part of that leads me to another stage in my life or something like that. So I don't know. Again, I think that if you listen to all these philosophers and all this conspiracy stuff, it's pretty much the same thing. It's like life is what you make of it, and you shouldn't always wait for something else to happen. You just go out and do something and, take life as it comes and take the challenges. Again, if someone tries to shit in your breakfast, you just throw it at them in the face and say, like, what the fuck? I have no idea what that meant. Anyway. So yeah, if life is giving you garbage, then maybe it's time to, change your ways and do something completely different. Maybe every day you should try and do something that you would never think of. I've heard something else. Every day you should give yourself a little present, but you shouldn't plan it. You should just do it, in the moment. Like whenever that moment arrives, at that point in time, you just do it. And you don't plan it, you don't like look for it, you don't anything. Just in that moment, just in that spark of like, bang, you just do it. Anyway, so yeah, that's my little story time for today, I guess. I have nothing else really to say. Again, I'm still looking through that conspiracy stuff, but I'm kind of reaching this point where I'm like, okay, I've heard so many sides and points of views and whatever, and in the end, it really doesn't matter. Because even if like virus stuff or whatever, shakes the world, or something good might happen or something bad might happen, it really, really doesn't matter, because your life is just it's happening, one instant at a time, and I feel like it's the best way to just take it one instant at a time. Be like living in the moment and not like planning all the time or like living in the past all the time, There's always some shit that happened to all of us at some moment where it could always, like, for the rest of our lives, think about that shit moment that fucked everything up. Or we could just let go and say, like, whatever, go fuck yourself, It's everything, you know, again, the stupid line, but it's true. Everything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So whatever shit happened in the past, you're like, whatever, you know, and you just move on. Again, and I think it's the same with planning. Some people take all their lives planning stuff all the time and never actually doing anything. This is also something I could tell about some girlfriends that I had. One girlfriend always made plans with me, like, oh, we have to do this and we have to go there and blah, 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 blah. And guess what? We actually never did any of that. And another girlfriend that I had, she was very, very spontaneous. Is that the word? Whatever. And I was like, I remember I told her about that girlfriend. I was like, yeah, she always made plans with me to go to that certain place. And she's like, let's just go not right now. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? And she's like, yeah. And so we jumped into a train and we went there and we were like, this is awesome. And we had, honestly, we had one of the greatest days ever. And on my YouTube channel, I even have this picture of myself from that day, from that moment, which was like, it was just like the perfect moment. That's pretty much why I chose that picture. It's like me in the perfect moment on the perfect day. You know, that's what I like to remember. So anyway, so yeah, I'm talking way out of my ass right now. And yeah, I have nothing else to say, I guess. But, you know, no matter what it is, if you have any kind of trouble or, you know, if there's anything bothering you or whatever, or the virus stuff or whatever is happening, just let go. Just go like, yeah, you know what? Go fuck yourself. And, you know, live in the moment. Go with your gut feeling. Go with your intuition. And from my perspective, it will just work out, you know, in some kind of miraculous ways. So, and again, and one other thing I have to mention to that, even if something bad happens, and if you're really mad and frustrated, sometimes if you just let go of these feelings, you're like, you know, whatever. Sometimes the bad things are actually good. And you're like, well, even out of this garbage, something good happened. So, I don't know. Personally, I just look at life that way. And even if I have like really, really bad days, and I've had really terrible days, like in the past year or longer, I always know that this terrible feeling will go away at some point. And then, you know, I would just look back and say like, why was I worried? Like, who cares? Fuck it. And yeah, that's pretty much my little thing I can tell you. Just say fuck it. Okay, anyway, so I think I've rambled on long enough. So yeah, if you have any kind of like challenges in your life, or if you want to share something else with anyone else, like leave a comment or whatever. I'm always reading all the stuff you're saying. And, you know, it's always good to see that other people have the same experiences. Like, I think it's so isolating all the time. Like, everyone is always concerned, like, I think I'm crazy, or I think I'm weird, or whatever. You know, you always think like, this only happens to me. As soon as you start connecting with other people and try to read about stuff, you see that everyone has this stuff happening to them. Everyone's confused. Everyone, you know, life is just like this whole big ass journey, and no one really has a plan. Everyone's like, same with these conspiracies things. Like, everyone's telling you about their great plan and whatever is happening, and they know everything and all the secrets and blah blah blah. No one knows anything. It's like free for all. So yeah, anyway, that was my long ass rant. Sorry if I didn't say anything that was of any interest to any of you, but I don't know. I felt like I had to get this off my chest for whatever reason. So I hope I could, like, maybe, you know, give you some inspiration or whatever for the day or whatever. So yeah, I have nothing else to say. So yeah, I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.